Okay, well, God bless you. Listen, go ahead on and tag and share. We are live, and we're excited about today's show. So let's go ahead on and tag and share. Let's get everybody in on today, right here on the Greg James Community Show. Listen, we are excited about today's broadcast. So I need you to go ahead on and tag and share. Let's get everybody in. Let's get everybody in on today. We are live right here in. Go ahead on and tag and share. And let's get everybody on. That's right. Go ahead on and tag and share. Let's get everybody in. Let's get everybody in. Let's get everybody in on today for the live broadcast. Well, listen, those of you who are tuned into the broadcast, we're excited about you joining us. We are right here we're in another location, and we're going to be talking to an exciting young man who is going to be sharing with us what I feel like is so important. Let's tag, let's share, let's get everybody in. Let me give you a chance to go ahead on the tag and share on this wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. It's the Greg James Community Show. And listen, you know, the broadcast that I do is very informative, it's very inspiring, and it's very insightful. So we're going to be able to bring you more of what's going on in and around our city. So listen, I need you to go ahead on the tag and share so that I can get everybody in. We're going to be public in a few minutes. So let's get everybody on as we get ready to talk about what we're going to talk about. So much is happening in and around our city, in our state, and in our local and our national scenery. Yesterday, it was the swearing in of our newly elected, as well as those who are already serving in our state government. They were sworn in on yesterday, and certainly we are excited about what is happening in and around our state. I want to say good afternoon to those of you who already tuned in. I need you to go ahead on and tag and share. Let's get everybody on. Need you to tag and share. Let's get everybody tuned in to the broadcast. I want to say good afternoon to, that's right. I want to say good afternoon to all of you that are already tuned in. And thank you so much for joining. I want to say good afternoon to Lydia Hall. Thank you so much for joining. Go ahead on and tag and share. Let's get everybody in. We're going to be talking about accountability, and without the level of accountability, it lacks. It puts you in a position of a liability. So we're going to be talking with a young man, Rodney Moore. He's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour. That's around 2:30, and we're going to be talking here. I want to say good afternoon to Shirley Pittman. I want to say good afternoon to all of you. Go ahead on and tag and share. One of the things that is so important for us as we move forward in this time that we're in is to make sure that we are, as a community, moving forward together to understand the value of community, to understand the vision of community, and to understand how much of a voice that we need to have as a community. So I need you to go ahead on, let's tag, let's share, let's get everybody in today. I'm on a different location, and believe it or not, I am in the city of Quincy, and I'm excited about being here today. I'm excited about the broadcast. I'm excited about the Greg James Community Show. And first of all, let's give a big shout out to all of our newly elected officials who were sworn in on yesterday. I had the privilege and the opportunity to be in Jefferson County. That's right. I was in Jefferson County with the superintendent who said, I believe, and that I believe turned into we believe, and we believe turned into making it happen. And on last evening in the county of Jefferson, Jackie Pons was sworn in as the new superintendent. And certainly I'm grateful to Superintendent Jackie Pons because he gave me the first opportunity to enter into the school system upon being released from federal prison with a program that I did inside of the prison. He gave me an opportunity to make that program so real in the school system in Tallahassee. Even though I was on probation, even though I was just coming out of federal prison, he saw the program, he saw the value that it had to offer, and he, along with his team, figured out how they could get me onto the school campus, put that program in place, a program that was scheduled for 4 weeks, ended up for 22 weeks. And I'm grateful for the team that I had. We were able to meet all of the DOE requirements for that program to be effective. And we took 30 individuals, young men who were probably, as we all say, at risk. We were able to transform their lives. 15 of those kids became AB honor roll students, and grade changes, attitude changes. And we went from a 4-week program to a 22-week program. And we saw the transformation of lives that took place as we invested into those young men. And one of the things that was so rewarding as we did our research, and we discovered that out of 30 of those kids who were in the program, around 17 of them had a parent that was incarcerated, and none of the information was documented in their files. Why? Because either they was living with a grandmother, they was living with an aunt, or they was living with a relative. So no one was asking about where was your mom or where was your dad. So we were able to tap into a understanding that these kids had a loved one that was incarcerated. And this brought about the passion that has had me on this amazing journey of fighting for our youth who get caught up in the criminal justice system. And so therefore, I want to give a big shout out to Jackie Pons for extending that launching pad for me to begin a journey of fighting for our youth, making sure that alternative measures are in place so that they can avoid what I would call going from the streets, graduating into the prisons and into systems of incarceration. So on last evening, I was there with him. I want to say good afternoon to Dominique Grant. I want to say good afternoon to Jolene Willard, and I want to say good afternoon to Abria Barkley, Rolanda. Listen, go ahead on the tag and share. Joining me at 2:30 is a voice that has been really sounding the alarm. That's Rodney Moore. He's going to be joining me at 2:30 at the bottom of the hour. But just a few things that I want to share with you right now. On yesterday, the Senate elected the Senate president for the session. That Senate president Ben Albright. And certainly he has a heart and he has an agenda for he's big on rural communities. So we are looking forward to see the work, the action that is going to take place from the Senate when it comes to rural communities, and how important his work and how important the representatives who are representing our districts are going to be. Also, the new House Speaker is none other than Danny Perez out of Miami. And the Speaker made it clear that wasted spending, he's very much had taken a closer look at how we're spending the funds throughout the state of Florida when it comes to spending. So listen, this year's session is going to be a very interesting session. And I think that for all of you who are part of our community and all of you who understand the value of community, it's so important that you stay involved in your local, stay involved in your state, as well as your national government, because these are critical times, and these are times that we, as a body of believers, must maintain and ensure that we are working for the betterment and the good of our community. Certainly, go ahead on and tag, share. Let's get involved, because today we're going to be talking about governmental controversy. We're going to be talking about community impact, and we're going to be talking about a path for the future moving forward with community and government. And joining me to talk about that will be Mr. Rodney Moore, who is a young man here in the Gadsden County area who has been sounding the alarm, making his voice heard, and to the point that it has motivated the community. It has created a conversation, and it has awakening the eyes and the understanding of our community that we must become involved, we must become engaged. And you know, the thing that is so alarming to me is that we must not shoot the messenger. we got to wait to the message, and that's key in this hour that we're living in. So for those of you who are silent, and for those of you who feel and believe that truth, when it's told, shouldn't be told, has disturbed a lot of us, and I think that we've got, as a community and as leaders in the community, we have to become engaged in our local politics. We got to get engaged before decisions are made. We can't wait until after decisions are made to make our voices heard. So that's going to be something that is highly important to me. Listen, so therefore I need you to go ahead on and tag and share, and certainly listen, glad to understand that in this moment and in this hour, there are a lot of things that are taking place that our voice have to be attentive to, because one of the things that I feel like is so important for us in this moment is that we have to be able to, one, have a seat at the table. Here we are. The House is governed by a majority of Republican electives. The Senate is governed by a majority of Republican electives. And whether you're Democrat or Republican, at the end of the day, when you're hungry, it does not matter who you're getting food from. So therefore, you got to have a voice, you got to be engaged, and you got to have a seat at the table so that you can be speaking for the best interest of those who you serve and those who you represent. And I think that is so important that we take a look at it. When it comes to the body of Christ, many of us have different beliefs. Many of us attend different churches, and the different beliefs that we have in the different churches that we attend should not bring us to the point that we are constantly in warfare with each other, because I think our ultimate goals as believers, our ultimate goal as the body of Christ, is how do we uplift people? How do we win people for Christ? And if Jesus is our model, then we understand what his work was about. The Bible said he went about doing good. And I believe that this is the hour, this is the moment for us to become do-gooders in our communities, do-gooders wherever we find the way, or wherever we are serving at. So I'm going to encourage all of you to evaluate, reevaluate your role, reevaluate your level of servanthood, reevaluate your level of involvement. And many times this is not an hour for us to become so divided, but this is an hour for us to become more unified. And then the thing that is so rewarding that we must really, really, really pay close attention to is that we must be able to hold. The Bible talks about when Moses was in battle, how Aaron and Hur was able to hold his arms up. We got to hold up the arms of those who are making our issues known. We got to hold up the arms of those who are making our issues heard. We got to hold up the arms of those who are fighting to ensure that we have an equal playing field. And many times we are the only community that's wounding our own soldiers. And, I don't want to get too deep into that, because as a race, we have seen other races come into our neighborhoods. They unite, they own the stores, and the things that they put into our communities are things that are bringing detriment. The things that they put into our communities are the things that we are spending our monies on, that is causing us to get to a place that, one, it creates more crime, it creates more poverty, and it brings us into a place that we are in constant warfare with each other. So this is an hour where our churches must come together. This is an hour where our nonprofits must come together. This is an hour where we must unite as a people to ensure that we are able to own the grocery stores in our community, and we're able to own the different needs of our community. We ought to be shopping from each other. We ought to be spending with each other. The restaurants, we ought to be doing that with each other. Our dollars need to circulate within our community so that we can have the kind of value and the kind of power that we need to have, so that we are in a place that we can empower each other. Other communities are doing it within our communities, and yet and still we are so divided among ourselves. Listen, I'm excited to be joined. Come on, get in. Listen, I'm excited. Amen. Listen, I'm excited to be joined by a young man who is right here from the Gadsden community. And certainly want to say good afternoon, Mr. Rodney Moore. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
Man, I'm doing absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Listen, just before we get started, I'm excited. Those of you who are already tuned in, I need you to tag, share. As I told you today, we're talking about accountability. Whenever there's no accountability, it puts the community at a liability. And that's so important as we begin to move forward in a new era of government, in a new era of democracy. It is an era whereby if we don't come together as a community, then we're going to fall apart. And not only are we going to fall apart, we're going to come apart. So if there ever was a time for us to be unified, if there ever was a time for us to have one voice, this is the hour and this is the moment. So listen, I'm excited about my guest who's joining me today, and he is Rodney Moore. And basically, I want to say this show is about accountability, but it's also going to be we're going to be talking about governmental controversy. We're going to talk about community impact, and we're going to talk about a pathway forward for our community and when it comes to our government. So before we begin, we got about 12,000 people joining us throughout the region. Tell us a little bit about Rodney Moore. Who is Rodney Moore?
Well, first of all, kind of excuse my dress. I just left the kids at school.
Absolutely.
So,
and I appreciate you because, but first of all, let me say this. I appreciate you for squeezing the time in. This was an abrupt show. I reached out to you this morning and basically you said, let me see how we can work it out. But however, you made it happen, and I have been following you. So a little bit about Rodney Moore.
Well, I'm Rodney Moore. I was born and raised right here in Gadsden County. Did 27 years of law enforcement. My mom and dad, my family, everybody's here, and this is home. I love Gadsden County, and when I was a state trooper, that's one of the reasons I transferred back home, because I want to come home and had my ups and downs just like everybody else. I had some disappointments in life, but God has been good and He's kept me, and this is where I am.
Wow. And one of the things that I want to say is that I've been following you, and I've been following your voice as it pertains to government controversy, as it pertains to the community. And one of the things that I like about you is the fact that, one, even in life, you said we've all had hiccups. You were able to say, hey, I made a mistake here. I made a mistake there. I own that.
Yes.
And I bounced back from that.
Yes.
That's hard for a lot of people to do. A lot of people try to, when they look at me, they know my story, and they're trying to continue to live by what I was.
Exactly.
And I've already owned that. I've embraced that. That has made me a better person. You've had some issues that you've embraced.
Yes.
And you've moved on.
Yes, sir.
So now let's talk about one of the things that I feel like has really, it has captured the hearts and minds of people throughout the city, throughout the state. I've had several people to call me throughout the state of Florida to say, hey man, what's going on in Gadsden? And one of the things that I was saying was, hey, I'm following the voice that's crying in the wilderness. And so today I got the pleasure to have you on to talk about it, because it has really caused a lot of questions. And the first thing that I want to ask you, let's talk about what inspired your voice to get involved in addressing some of the concerns that you see in city and county government in Gadsden.
I had this discussion with some people. Some folks said, are you bitter because you didn't win the tax collector's race? And are you bitter because of this? I was like, bitter. I said, I've run for office. I ran for sheriff twice. I ran for state representative. I ran for school board twice. And this time I ran for tax collector. Whenever I've seen a need in the community to make a change, I've done it. So I asked these people, why would I be bitter now? But let me let everyone know, the reason this came about was there was an issue that came up about the late, great Mr. John Hutley. And I'm just going to be upfront and frank. There was a utility bill at 15 and 17, I believe, West Jefferson Street, which is the cigar bar that was owned by current city manager Rob Nixon. Well, they were saying that Mr. Huntley owed, I guess it was, I forgot what the bill was, $14,000. They kind of beat Mr. Huntley up. Mr. Huntley had just passed away, and my experience with Mr. Huntley was positive. I used to, when I was a trooper, I used to go by the shop and buy records or CDs at that time.
Absolutely.
And we would have just some good old fashioned talks. And I knew Mr. Huntley was a good man. He was a prominent, responsible business person, and he was unable to speak for himself. And I just kind of start snooping around about that utility bill, and that utility bill has led us to where me at least to where I am today.
And because of that, you know, you being almost what, 30 years, 20 years, over 20 years in law enforcement.
27.
Over 27 years in law enforcement, you know what it is to be on a rabbit hunt and there's nothing there.
Yes.
But because of that level of experience, that understanding of the criminal work, the investigative side of things, here's someone who's an icon in the community. I understand the wife spoke with you. It really moved you to say, I want to find out what's going on.
Yes.
Nothing about the fact that I ran for sheriff, I ran for tax collector, none of that even mattered.
No, that had absolutely nothing. The night of the election, after the results came in, matter of fact, I got online and I congratulated Tanji for her win. And that night I took a shower, put my CPAP on, and gone.
You gone.
Gone.
Wow,
Yes,
wow.
sir.
And you know, the thing about it is, listen, I want to commend you for running that many times. I ran one time and said, I'll never do it again.
You will, because
No.
I said the same thing.
I'll never do it again. But I like to be able to clear up a lot of things because, you know, when people are speaking their truth and when people are voicing what they are alleging to see happening, it causes people who have no understanding to draw a conclusion that's far from the truth.
Yes.
And so because of that, you begin to make your voice heard. You begin to awaken the community because you discovered that, hey, this is not right.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell people now, kind of take your focus off the messenger and focus on the message. We sometimes get out in the weeds and the bushes on issues that have nothing to do about what the person is talking about. Again, this one incident led to things that the people in question seem to be involved in. And through my investigative work and my 27 years of law enforcement, I was like, hold on a minute. That's illegal. I said, hold on a minute. They're involved in this. And then these things, as I even said last night at the county commission meeting, the same names continue to come up on public records requests. When I would get documents, I found out, hey, there's a county employee with a high-ranking position whose personal business is writing checks to pay vendors that work for the county. That shouldn't be. Some incident just recently occurred with some vehicles that were sold unbeknownst supposedly of the county manager, and we know the county commissioners had no knowledge of it. They came up in a meeting, start doing some snooping on that, and found out some more things had happened. So it's kind of like a leapfrog. It started here, and that snowball started rolling. It gets bigger and bigger, and there are people that are involved in some of these things that they're complicit, and it's unfortunate that. And I'll go back to the fact that Gadsden County is a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to live, but we can't do that when we have the people who are supposed to be bringing the economic development and doing what's right. They're doing just the opposite of that. So this thing is about accountability, like Reverend James said, and it's about holding our elected officials responsible. And this thing about, and I'll go to this, you haven't asked about it yet, but don't allow people, and I was going to put this out on a live today, but I'll put it here today. You can't pimp Jesus. You can't prostitute God. You can't pick God up and use him as you need him to help your cause. God, of course, God knows what you're going to think before you think it. He knows what you're going to do before you do it. So don't get in a public setting and try to use God as your defense for what someone else is doing or what you're doing. You said it best a minute ago, take ownership. I messed up when I was at the police department as police chief. When I finally owned up to it, I got freed of all that.
Wow. You know, and the thing that is so amazing about what you said, I messed up when I was pastor in Mount Zion Primitive Baptist Church right here in the city of Quincy. And for so many years while incarcerated, I lived in a state of denial. But the very moment that I took ownership that, Greg, you messed up,
Yeah.
I became free of that. And even to this day, what people may say, what people may think, it really doesn't have any impact on how I move forward, because why? I've owned up to it. And it's through that I've grown and developed. So with that being said, one of the things that I saw that you were so adamant about is the community getting involved so that they can have a voice. And as I followed you throughout all of your no more than 3 minutes of a Facebook message that was informing community and informing the public of what you are discovering, do you feel that all of that has brought to some level of accountability from those who are sitting in office? What do you think that has done for the community and those in leadership?
I can tell you with a surety that it has truly helped. Commissioners, I know on the county side and probably on the city side as well, they're getting phone calls. I know state agencies are getting phone calls. And you can see from the involvement on Facebook, you know, former county manager Ed Dixon said last night that, you know, I'm on Facebook for likes. I'm not on Facebook for likes. I'm on Facebook to inform the community. Michael Brown, you know, everybody knows Michael Sell Greens. Mike said that Facebook is a powerful thing if it's used right. And it is powerful. And that's why I only try to do 3 to 4 minutes just to inform the community what's going on. I think sometimes when as tough as times can be in our community, where we have a lot of people who are poor, our taxes just went up.
I heard about that.
And if your grandmother or a friend's mom or dad who is on a fixed income, they got to pay an extra $300 a month. I'm sorry, $300 a year for taxes. That may not seem like a lot to some people, but that may be the difference in medication or going to the doctor, paying those taxes. So me getting out there, God working me and using me to get a message out there. These people who are responsible for taking care of our business, our county commissioners, city commissioners, sheriff, whoever's elected. I know the city and county commissioner have heard it. I know if you look at the responses on Facebook, it crosses all boundaries, racial, socioeconomical, rich people, gay, straight, whatever. People are involved. They're sick and tired of what's going on. And those commissioners last night that voted realized that. They realized that the community is tired of the same old status quo. And I'll say this, you know, Mr. Dixon had 4 years. He's had the ball for 4 years. He hasn't scored. Gadsden County has not moved. I mean, you can look around. We have to go to Bainbridge or Tallahassee for entertainment, to eat. The grocery store is gone. And I'm not blaming them for that, but there's got to be a point where we have to hold them accountable for true economic development. Commissioner Holt, they went out to was Mississippi here a few weeks ago. Mississippi has the highest, one of the highest crime rates, and the highest poverty rate has the highest poverty rate in the country. So how are you going there to find out about economic development?
Wow.
Again, go to Bainbridge, Decatur County. They can show you what they're doing. Go to Marianna. They can show us what they're doing. Wow.
I mean, and to say that is and when we look at Gadsden County as a whole, certainly I grew up in Leon, but my embrace came from the fact that I pastored the Mount Zion Church in Quincy on 9th and Crawford. I stayed involved, and even when I was released, I had to come back, and I did 3 nights at the Clary Entertainment Center of a revival to say, hey, listen, I messed up. I'm coming back to this city where I messed up. And I have been continuously engaged right here in Gadsden to help facilitate some growth, some economic development, some intervention program, some prevention program, especially among our youth. And certainly I want to take the moment to applaud you for the courage to be able to say, hey, listen, community, let's wake up to what we see. And at the end of the day, as you move forward, do you feel that when you look at where you are now, where the community is now, do you feel like the alleged controversy has impacted the community?
Oh, it has impacted the community in several ways. I think it has brought people together who never would have been, they never would have teamed up to do anything.
Wow. So you're saying that people who never would have teamed up have come together now?
I've had people to contact me that never would have dealt with me before.
Wow.
Because of my prior job, what I did. I may have put some family members in jail, and I know a few of them didn't, but they come to me and say, hey, man, we got our differences, but I support you 100%.
And here's the thing that, and I'm gonna throw in a Bible verse because here's the key to it. In the book of Chronicles, 2nd Chronicles, around about the 20th verse, the Amorites and the Moabites came together. Even though they had a difference, they came together because they had one thing in mind. They wanted to defeat Jehoshaphat. One of the things that I tell people all the time, we may have our differences, but if there is an issue that's impacting all of us, prison taught me, and it taught me, and it stays with me, that if there is something that is impacting all of us, no matter how I feel about you, no matter how you feel about me, the bottom line is, how do we come together to make our communities better? So no doubt the community has felt the impact, yes. And no doubt the community is appreciative. I think the last thing I heard from one of your lives was you wanted everybody to meet you at the commission meeting on last evening. Yeah. How was that meeting?
Last night it was packed. Initially, it kind of went on for a while. I think eventually I left about 10 o'clock, and they still had a few things to do. So it was a 4-hour meeting, and people had to get home to their families. But you could feel I won't call it tension. You can feel there was something there. And I think that everyone there, regardless of quote unquote what side you were on, you knew that there was something going to happen last night. I mean, I felt it when I walk in. I could see it on the expressions on every commissioner's face. I can see it on the people's face. Matter of fact, I think Commissioner Green said, hey, you guys can talk or laugh or something. We still got 5 minutes. I mean, the audience was completely quiet. It's like, hey, this is business. Wow. It's time to get on to business. So I do believe that is the reason. And I think that with this movement, this isn't about Rodney at all. I mean,
okay, let's make that known. This is not about you.
This is not about Rodney at all. This is about our community, taking our community back, holding the elected officials responsible for the job that we hired them to do, that we voted for them to do. And I can guarantee you, if we continue to do that, we'll see more change in our community and better stewards of our tax dollars. And I'll say this, the city commission right now, they haven't gotten on board. And unfortunately, it's going to take some more things to happen for them to get on board. We got 2 commissioners, Dr. Wood, Dr. Nash. My hat's off to you guys trying, but they got that 3-2 vote where those other 3 just won't budge. So, hey, hold on.
As you would normally say, help
is on the
way.
On the way.
So rebuilding trust in our government leadership. Do you think it's going to be hard to do after all of the alleged allegations that are surfacing in the community? Do you think it's going to be hard for the community, which here's a community that is over 60% African Americans, a community where the leadership is almost 80% African Americans, and the community as a whole at one point was one of the fastest growing, one of the most richest community there was. I mean, Gadsden County, and here now we have dropped in so many areas. Our crime rate is high, poverty rate, education, and now leadership is putting us in an awkward position when it comes to being the leaders that govern how our city grows. Do you think it's going to be hard for the community to trust or empower leadership?
Commissioner Sean Wood said last night that one of the church ladies told him during campaigning, and this stuck with me. The lady said, we entrust you and other elected officials, but we don't trust you.
Wow, we entrust
We
you.
entrust you, but we don't trust you.
Wow.
And I believe the reason for that is, as I've said all the time, people tell folks what they want to hear to get elected, and then it's a different story once they take office. You said something a second ago where we have a predominantly Black city and county commission. Well, we got to get beyond this race and color thing.
Absolutely.
I've heard commissioners say, well, the white folks used to do it. Well, that doesn't make it right. We entrusted you,
To do the
not
right
you, but the
thing.
commissioners,
Yeah, I understand.
to do the right thing, because y'all said that they used to do that. So, but now y'all are there, and the businesses that we did have,
We don't have.
we don't have them. It's my belief that we need some diversity on the county commission as well as the city commission. We need people who are genuinely concerned about what's going on. And I can tell you this: if a person really needs that salary that they're making as a city or county commissioner, they don't need to be one. If they're in it for the money,
Right.
they don't need to be a commissioner, because to me, that their mindset is not going to be of that person who's there to truly make a difference in the community. There's some people up there that, in my opinion, that shouldn't be there for that specific reason.
Wow. And you know, certainly we do always want to make sure that one, that there is a level of accountability, and two, that those who have made their voices heard as they campaign throughout the city, the community, to say they're here for the people, that they are doing that. Hey, listen, for those of you who are tuned into the broadcast, for those of you who are listening to us through Hallelujah 95.3, I'm talking to Rodney Moore, who is a native of Gadsden County, former law enforcement, farmer.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that until I started watching. And then I did a little history and understand your family had a large farming going on right here in Gadsden County.
Yeah, and actually my brother has a farm up in Havana, and I actually bought about a 90-acre farm over in Wiggum also.
Wow.
Yes.
So that must be relaxing.
It's a lot of work, but it's relaxing. I love it.
After a long day of digging through the rubbish to find out what you find out, to go to the farm has to be refreshing.
Matter of fact, I did some of the videos from on the farm. So
really?
yes,
Wow.
sir.
So listen, that's who we're talking to today, and we're talking about government accountability. He has been moved through the conversation of the Hutleys, and just to find out information about that situation, and it has led him to so many other things that are happening within the county, allegedly. And I'll say that because I've had so many people to reach out to me saying, why are you bringing him on? Oh man, I've had a whole lot. But the Greg James Show is a very informative show. It's inspiring. And not only is it inspiring, but it's informative. And certainly this story has made the WCTV news headlines. And it's the result of, I guess, your voice. I mean, encouraging, inspiring people to take a look at county government. One of the things that you said I think is so important is that there has to be diversity. And I think we're in an hour where we're electing people on popularity.
Yes.
We're electing people on friendship. But this is an hour where many people, you know, I get into this debate all the time with a lot of people, because I say, I'm going to support who I feel like is best for the job.
Yes.
And I tell people all the time, people who never had money shouldn't be in a position, because at the end of the day, that money is going to take control of their mind, their heart. And the Bible said, for the love of money, you know, so it's a driving force, and it causes you to lose insight on what you have pledged to do for the people. And there's no reason that a county like this should be going through these kind of alleged allegations.
Yes. And I tell you another thing is, you look at our school district is predominantly African-American. There are a lot of white kids here. You have to ask yourself, where are they? They're not all at Robert F. They're going Leon County. I know a lot of kids are up in Decatur County, Grady County, Liberty County, and Jackson County. When you go in Walmart, you always ask yourself, where are the white people? When I ran for school board, when I knocked on some doors of some of my white brethren, they would say, well, I'm not even going to vote in that race. I'm like, why? I don't have kids in the school district, or, my kids didn't even go to school up here. But I always tell them about 60 million of your tax dollars are going toward the school district. You should be involved to select that person who best represents your tax dollars, if not your child. So that's something that we have to realize. And even with, I think we're 4,000 or 5,000 students off in enrollment, and people wonder why they closed the schools down. Well, there are no kids to put into school.
Wow.
And a lot of this comes from the fact that there's nothing wrong with our school district. Let's make that clear. And this may make some folks upset. These problems, 90% of them are stemming from the house.
Absolutely.
We have to take responsibility for our children and their actions. If you send a child to school fed, clothed, and disciplined, allow the key and his folks can teach them.
Well, I totally agree with you, because I'm in the courtrooms day in and day out, especially our juvenile courts. And many times our youth are showing up in courts with a grandmother, yes, or with some other guardian, and they are really living to make it on their own. And one of the most disturbing and heartfelt things for me is to see our kids repeating the same cycle. And I'm very adamant about it, is because I was inside a federal prison where there was a father, there was his son, and that father's son was there, and they were all at the table as though they were on a picnic. Wow. And I'll never forget how that made my heart feel. And I always said to the Lord, I said, Lord, if I get out, I will do whatever I can to break this generational curse. So people don't understand why I make my voice heard when it comes to certain issues. They don't understand why I'm pounding the pavement to meet with state attorneys or attorney generals or judges or sheriffs. Why? Because I know what I've seen. Yeah. And I've been over here in the courts of Judge Garner, and I see how that courtroom is packed with our young boys and our young girls. And I see how they are constantly coming in with charges after charges after charges. And I'm saying, where are the preventive methods? Where are the programs to help guide these kids in a direction? And here you are talking about the accountability of leadership, and people are upset.
Well, again, I think people, again, they're putting the focus on the messenger sometimes. And from a personal experience, I have my oldest son.
Wow.
Recently got out of Florida Department of Corrections. He was in prison. Here I am, 27-year veteran of law enforcement, and my oldest son just got out. He's a convicted felon. So I know when they talk about, well, people should have another chance, I totally agree. I'm doing everything I can to make sure he doesn't go back. So this thing is personal because it affects all of us. And of course, your message and what you're doing in the community is to be commended. So we just have to roll our sleeves up and not allow things to become the norm.
Yeah.
I see kids at school, I see kids in the community, and now things have become the norm. It's so acceptable, and we should not accept that. I always tell people now that the system they're not going to beat you with sticks or hang you with a rope. They're going to put that ink on you.
Oh yeah.
And that's where we have to understand that our young men and women now are making decisions that are all life altering for the rest of their lives. So it's up to us as parents and leaders in the community, especially our elected officials. If you're mismanaging money on cars and on other things, that's money that you can give to nonprofits that are actually helping our people in the community. We have such a bad problem right now with mental illness in the community, which is tied in with drug use and even homelessness right here in Gadsden County. These are things that I think our local government needs to address. We talk about, these faith-based initiatives. We talk about these things, but are they really true faith-based initiatives? Until we tie these two together, we're going to continue to have these problems. And again, we need more people like yourself who are out there telling people what we need to do, telling people the truth, and I believe that'll help.
Wow. Well, listen, I want to really commend you, and I want to ask a few more questions with the time we have remaining, because I feel like the Bible talks about a John the Baptist who was crying in the wilderness. It talks about how important it is for voices to carry volume to help make sure that our communities are awakened. For such a time as this, it's a critical time in government. It's a critical time in federal government. It's a critical time in state and even local government. And this is a point where leadership, especially in small communities like Gadsden, has to be a leadership that has the people in mind of how we can create opportunities for people. Let's look at some of the things that you've been able to allegedly uncover that has really impacted the people. I understand now that some of the things that, based on following you, some of the things that you were able to discover is, one, you mentioned the selling of vehicles or something.
There were 13 vehicles that were sold. It's been about 3 weeks ago at a local auction. They were county vehicles. Based on the information gathered at the county commission meeting, the county manager at that time, Ed Dixon, brought to the county commission. He tried to get approval to sell those 13 vehicles. Well, the problem was the vehicles had already been sold.
Wait. So you said the vehicles had already been sold.
Wow. So he's asking for, well, he's putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. The vehicles have been sold, but he was asking for permission to sell the vehicles. And when questioned, he said, well, I knew nothing about it. At the first of it, it never should have been done. Well, there's two things violated. By statute, there has to be a advertisement to the community that these vehicles are being sold. Number two, the county commission, that 5-member body, has to approve of the sale of those vehicles. Neither one of those were done. And the other alleged allegations, which there is a lot of evidence, there are 2 employees who are now on suspension that purchased 2 of the vehicles. And I guess people might say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, the other alleged allegation was there's a lot of evidence on that. Prior to those vehicles being taken to the sale, they put new tires, a set of new tires on both vehicles. Air conditioning units were repaired, and other mechanical issues were repaired on those vehicles. So you're looking at, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of possible monies, that taxpayers' dollars that were spent on vehicles that were being sold. And the 2 people involved on suspension, one bought one for his son, and the other one bought one, or had someone to buy it for his business.
Wow. And I guess people who hear the work that you're doing, and I can attest to the fact that when you start speaking truth to power, it brings about a lot of hardships, because people are not readily, easily acceptable of truth.
Yes.
But you have to keep pressing your way. I mean, I find it happens all the time when I share things, and but here it is. We're talking about things that are happening within a small circle of people.
Yes.
That's impacting a lot of people.
Exactly.
And I think that as a community, when we look at how the community is, when we look at the struggles that the community is facing, you mentioned Bainbridge. I mean, here's a community that's much smaller than Gadsden, but the economic growth has happened, and the land size here is much bigger than Bainbridge.
We have, obviously, there's some people in Bainbridge who have a vision. It looks like they have probably a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, etc. Over the last 5 years, I have seen the growth of Bainbridge from downtown high is actually spreading out, and it actually, and there's on the, I would call, like, the eastern side of Bainbridge, where a lot of the older homes, or some of the Black communities, it's actually eating that up. These corporations are buying these houses where some of the older folks have obviously died or didn't pay the taxes, and it's been beautified. On the west end, the water park, they're getting ready to build, I think it's a Marriott hotel, the restaurant, Susie and Sam's. I mean, it's beautiful up there. Downtown at night, you can go up there, just walk on the square.
Wow.
It's got that southern feel. And it's just, it has the same setup as Gadsden County, our downtown. But when you come to Quincy at night,
It's dead.
It's there.
I don't know the particulars on this, but I know Amazon went to Tallahassee. I understand that there was some conversation. I don't know whether you know was about Amazon coming to Gas. I think there have been several opportunities for major businesses to reside here in the county, which would have created job opportunities, which would have created economic growth, which would have done so much to enhance the economic development of a rural county.
Exactly. And that's where you know leadership comes in. Okay, if you might not be the smartest guy on the board, but there's definitely someone you can hire and say, hey, let's find out what Bainbridge, what Mariana did, what Western Tallahassee, what they're doing. We have Pat Thomas Parkway at the interstate. We have Highway 90 at the interstate. We have the Greensboro and Chattahoochee exit. So we have 4 exits with a major interstate running through them. There's no reason why all 4 of them should be grown up. I know here at Pat Thomas, the rumor was the city wouldn't run the sewage and the water on out there. I guess they finally got that. The thing with the Dollar General Distribution Center, there was some hiccups with the county commission and people not wanting to come here. I understand maybe the same thing with Amazon. So again, you have to have people on these boards with a vision, and the vision is to see this community grow. I don't think it's a good idea to try to bring a gambling casino here. It's not going to happen. The legislature is not going to allow that to happen. So I don't know why they keep spending money and time on something that's not going to happen. They are not going to allow, in my lifetime, a gambling casino to come anywhere in Gadsden County. It's not going to happen. We need to look at clean industry. We need to look at bringing, just like Bainbridge has Taurus that has come in, and they got this new, they're not telling us what it is. They got this new company coming in that's going to employ a couple of 100 people that's coming in really soon. It's going to be a surprise. So it's growing. We need to find out from them. Just pick up the phone and call. You don't have to even drive up there. Hey, this is Commissioner so-and-so, or this is Mayor so-and-so. What are you guys doing? We want to
model.
We want to model.
Yeah.
Exactly. We want to model you guys.
Give us some insight or some direction. Oh man, we are running out of time, and but however, my last thing is a question that I want to ask. In your opinion, the systematic issues that you have seen, what is it going to take for that to change?
It's going to take. This may sound a little crude. Some folks going to have to go to jail with the systematic issues with this current atmosphere we have in our community. This ride has been good for folks. When I tell you good, it's been really good for folks. There's been a lot of good people hurt. The human resource director had her position. They deleted her position.
So wait. Yeah, so you're saying a human resource position, an HR department
was deleted because this person asked for whistleblower protection. And I'll say this before we go. I told this on my videos. You guys remember this? These 3 letters, CRA. Hold on.
Wow. So listen, we got to go. But here it is. You're saying that a whole human resource department deleted all of a sudden, or was it part of the makings, or how?
No, all of a sudden, when the budget came up, new budget year, and it was a 3-2 vote, the same 3 people that supports this foolishness voted. The city manager took it to them. They voted on it, deleted her position.
Wow.
Deleted it. That's unheard of, a city deleting your human resources position. That's the backbone of your agency. That keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah, I was listening to the meeting and I heard Derek Elias say he worked in HR for over 20 years. So to hear you say that, man, that's alarming. Hey, but listen, we've been talking to Rodney Moore, who is a native of Gadsden, and finally, you've been in the city and in the county of Gadsden for well over 20 years. Do you see the city? This is my final question. Do you see it moving forward, or do you see it going backwards with the leadership now?
I think there's going to be some changes here soon. There's going to be some folks going to jail.
You're adamant about that.
Oh, I'm positive about that. There's going to be some people going to jail. I'm not laughing. It's not funny, but it's laughable because of. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Some folks going to jail.
Hey, listen. This has been when there's lack of accountability, then there is a liability. Hey, this has been the Greg James Community Show. I've been live right here in the Gadsden County area. I'm delighted to have joining me Rodney Moore, a native here, right here. And I want to call him Harriet Tubman. I don't know, Rosa Parks. I don't know. But I think that his voice is a voice that is alarming and awakening to the community to say that we must hold our elected officials accountable and we must be involved and engaged. If you want to see a better community, you cannot sit silent. You cannot sit idly by. In my community, many of the young men in our community who know me know that I'm going to talk to them about what they're doing. I'm going to tell them the consequences of what they're doing. And when the consequences hit them, there's no need to call to say, hey, can you help? No, these are the consequences. You making those choices. So certainly I want to say to all of you who tuned in, all 13,000 of you who joined us, thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. It's the Greg James Community Show. And you know, we're inspiring, we're informative, and we are engaging. Until next Wednesday, have a great time. And Rodney, is there anything else you want to say to our listeners?
John Lewis said, hey, get in some good trouble.
Wow. We closing on that note.